We're back in the studio. Yes, cool. Welcome to So Damn Local, Claudio, Tapia.
Thank you, Kathy. Thanks for having me.
Cool. So the reason we got you on is because you're a local author, Amsterdam.
Right.
And you do a lot in the city, a lot of readings. You're also a pioneer of something called Lit Cinema, which we're going to show our viewers later on. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about Amsterdam as a hub for writers, why you came here and your creative work in general.
Great. Sure.
Cool. So first of all, your novel is published, I think, last year, The Hand of Yemanja.
Right. It came out last year in February. A small publishing house in Texas. So I've been trying to push it and doing a lot of readings since then, and trying to promote it as much as I can. So.
I presume you wrote it in Amsterdam.
I did. Yeah.
But it's very exotic. Tell our viewers all about it.
Well, the book is it's loosely based on the history of my father's grandmother. She went to from Italy to Argentina around 1902, and that's the time frame of the book. And the interesting thing about this lady is that she a lot of people went out that way, out of poverty, basically the big migration to America, New York, Chicago, New Orleans, but also Buenos Aires. And then she died in 1972, but left a small fortune. And the interesting thing, what I found was that nobody in my family could tell me exactly how she became that rich. She left a clinic and a bunch of houses. So obviously she was very good at, a very good businesswoman. But there wasn't much information about her. I did meet her as a child before she died. And so I figured, that's a good space to write a book in. If you don't know anything about somebody, just, let fiction do the work. That's what I did.
But kind of based on real events and real family.
The basis, the basis of it is, it's a real history of a lady that inspired the story, but it's a fictitious story about a young woman that goes out that way. What are the motivations? What do people encounter when they go over there? And so there's three main characters. Although this lady is like the big character, the big narrator, the big protagonist.
Lydia, right. The main one of the main characters. But you've got three kind of big characters within the Hand of Yemanja. Yeah. Who are the other characters?
One of them is a street child. She finds in Brazil, docked at Salvador. So they cross the ocean as a street child, and somehow this child becomes attached to her, and she travels with her as who's to say, something like a little sister, like a little daughter, but it's a very strange character. And I really enjoy writing her because she's so weird in a way. And a man, a huge fictitious businessman that organizes these trips to America from all over Europe.
Ulysses.
Ulisse Gavino Paxi.
Oh, that's how you say it.
Yeah.
Ulisse.
Ulisse. Yeah. So, and he's a lot of fun too. His problem is that he's too successful. He succeeds in everything he does, and that frustrates him a little.
And his fate is linked in with Lydia's.
Yeah. So their paths, their destinies cross, and they meet and they travel together at some point. But I'm not going to tell you too much about the book because you need to read the book.
Yeah, it's true.
But these characters have their own path, and they're looking for their own thing, their own destiny. And so in the book, I make a reference to the sea goddess Yemanja, which was brought over from the African cultures to South America during the slave trade.
Is that part of the Candomblé?
In Brazil, it is, yes. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, Yemanja, the goddess, and a lot of these deities that you encounter in voodoo, Candomblé, you find from New Orleans to Argentina. So along the Atlantic coast, that's where these religions came. And she decides, the goddess decides your fate. So everybody that crosses the ocean has her to answer to. And that's the idea of the book.
Yeah. And so you've done something else different with your novel, The Hand of Yemanja. You've done lit cinema.
Right, yeah, you called it pioneering, and I'm very flattered that you did. But yeah, it is it's sort of a creative way to promote, your writing. It's, selling books is a hard business.
Well, we're going to see
Nowadays.
a bit of your pioneering
Great.
lit cinema now.
Right.
We'll show a clip for our viewers, and then we're going to talk more about how you produced it after this. So
good.
this is part of chapter 1 of The Hand of Yemanja.
Great.
It would still be hours before the mist completely lifted from the bay. The surface of the water was calm, tear-choked, glass-colored black by the sky hovering right above it. Genoa was at half veil, the city poised in mourning. The mayhem around her was complete, infectious, like the scene of a tragic accident, and an endearing reminder every time of how her countrymen only seemed more hysterical than what was usually the case. Families by far were the rowdiest, especially the provincials.
Brilliant. So that was lit cinema.
Yeah, a small part of it. Yeah.
It's quite hypnotic. It's got your voice as
Thanks,
well, your
yeah.
enigmatic voice behind it.
Well, that was the idea, to capture the mood of the book and make it, a little dreamy, little moody, moody thing.
And how did you go about making all of those? Because each chapter has their own visuals like that.
How it started is a friend of mine has studio and audio studio facilities. Person I used to play music with. But we come up with it as, let's try an audio book, or let's start reading from the book and see how that goes. So we started going to the studio and reading, and then I had like an hour's worth of material, audio material, and we figured, so we should make a trailer, like a little 5-minute trailer for the book. So we did that, and once we did that, I still had a lot of material unused. So I went back and I started, diving into the archives, black and white film, something to fit more or less into the mood of the story. And I started editing short little clips. Now it's a series of 10 of these short films. They're all narrated by me then. So it's only like the first 20 pages of the book. So it's not the entire book.
No,
I would have like 3 DVDs for that,
The box set.
Yeah. So just, 20 minutes or 20 pages, but an hour's worth. Yeah.
But how did you go about then getting the material from the archive and then editing it?
Yeah.
Was that tricky?
Well, there's a lot of archive material available. There's a lot of archive.org, I believe it is. And so there's a bunch of these. I used some of the archives and I won a prize with, I think episode number 4 won a prize at the Film Museum.
Oh, the I Film Museum.
Yeah, 2012 was that.
And you used some of their archives.
Yeah, what was it called? I always forget the name of this competition. I'll come up with it in a second.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, but anyway, so it was, it resonated with people. I figured, that's a really good way to promote your book, because it's visual. People like to, they're online all the time. Mm-hmm. So it's a good way to reach people. It's had good results. I'm happy with. Yeah. And I want to do more of it. You can do it live as well.
Yeah, it's very effective. Yeah. So you can see Lydia, you've got that feeling of arriving on the boat, right. Stuff like that. But you also do live reading events.
Yeah.
And there's something you do with the clarinet. How does that work?
Well, once we had this whole series, we figured, we can do this live. And so a friend of mine plays the clarinet, and he's a saxophone player, but he has a bassoon clarinet, a very, very dark instrument.
Moody.
Very moody,
really fits
and
this
he
piece,
just
yeah.
improvises to my reading. And the same friend that has the studio, René Ahout, he VJs the images as we do the reading. So we've done it live a couple of times, and we will again. And so it's a lot of fun because again, it's a little bit more than just reading from your book.
Yeah.
One of the things I always think, if you go to a book presentation, there's the writer there just reading a couple of pages, and it's all, with all due respect, it's pretty boring. There's not much happening, but you can make that a lot more.
You're putting the pressure
lively.
on. You're putting the pressure on the local authors
Yeah,
now.
I'm changing the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's on my thought about it.
Yeah.
How this came about, and it's worked, and it's a lot of fun to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you've got a reading coming up at the American Book Centre, but I think that's in April.
Yeah, we moved it up to April. So I don't know exactly when it's going to be, but it's going to be in April.
And as a writer, I think you've said before that Amsterdam is a bit of a hub for writers. Why is it you'd say that?
Well, I don't know if it's a hub for writers, but there's a lot of English writing in Amsterdam. Obviously Amsterdam is a very international place. It's a very, Amsterdam is, it's famous for its liberal mindset. It's a lot of artistic stuff going on. But there's a lot of English writing. I think it's the literary community. I think it's pretty big. I'm not exactly sure how it is in other towns, but it's pretty big in Amsterdam. And I think there's a lot of good stuff being written in town.
And The Hand of Your Manager, you wrote that here, so
Yes.
Amsterdam must inspire you, but it's not set here.
No.
But your current novel is set here, that you're working
one of the
on.
projects I'm working on is a locally, an Amsterdam-based story, and it's a totally different thing. Yeah, it's modern. It's set in the modern times, and it's about, I hope it's not too autobiographical because I don't like. I hope I'm not doing that, but it's a story about it's a love story really. It just takes place in a bedroom, between this guy and this woman. They're having an affair, and his history comes. He tells his story in bed, basically. So it's
Like John and Yoko.
a little bit more extended than that.
Well, we were talking about maybe having you read some of your new work. It's not published yet, viewers.
It's a work in progress, and I'd love to. Sure.
Well, let's get your script out. So this is a preview of an unpublished work that Claudio is working on.
It's gonna be a first,
set
guys.
in Amsterdam.
This is gonna be like.
It's unedited version. You've still got to do this. Explain a bit of the setting of this one.
Okay, so we're in Amsterdam, and these. It's a couple. It's a borrowed apartment where they come and have sex twice a week. That's the story.
Only twice a week.
Only twice a week because she's married and he's he has to
right.
work as a he basks and on a bridge. Anyway, so his name is Finn, Armando Finn. He's an American, half Mexican. I'm not really sure what to make of him. And this is a scene where he's met a wino near the Waterloopplein, and this wino is just picking him up to come out and play, whatever.
I have that problem all the time.
Yeah, it's like, go away, you don't smell, you stink. So anyway, so this is chapter 3. The working title's called, it's A Guide to Katinka. There you go. Chapter 3, I Need a Friend. I need a friend, Mr. Finn, Basil calls up from the street, a glistening rag in a heap almost indistinguishable from the canal behind him. I do too, Finn replies, immediately regretting he has opened his trap at all. All the while, Finn has tried to remain invisible behind the window, weighing his words like the strands of saffron Basil brought for him the night before, a gift. You smell like stale piss, Basil. Finn tries and wonders if there's even a need for him to explain himself. I don't have anything I want you sitting on in here. I don't need to sit, Mr. Finn. The bum's weathered voice traveling up over the red bricks toward Finn like the mildew that's been eating at those same walls for the past 200 years. I can stand, you know I can stand, if you want me to. All I want is friendship, Basil repeats, and then, as though he decidedly were arguing some real point, is that too much to ask, Mr. Finn? Smelling like you do, Basil, yes, that is too much to ask. Will you come down then? Finn steps back in horror and stares at the yellow glow from the window, asking himself, disconnected like, as if he had been running a fever or just been hit by a train, if there will ever be a time when he, Armando Finn, will get to beg for love the way an exotic fruit of creation like Basil gets to with impunity, will he ever be able to elevate himself enough to where he will someday step with so much ease right out of the shackles of shame and dignity? Finn feels infuriated, wronged, and strangely humiliated. I'm afraid that if I come down, Basil, I'll end up hurting you, perhaps even physically, he responds. I don't care if you hit me, Mr. Finn. I just need you to be my friend. Finn steps into the light after a silence that feels longer than it is in real time. Stop yelling, you'll wake up the lesbians. Finn then hisses like a bored sultan. I'm coming down. A gap, one that occurs in conversation sometimes when dialogue is drowned out by meditation or intense tactical brain activity, descends on Finn. But the silence gets shattered by Basil's voice creeping up from the street once more. Will you bring down food and some cigarettes? I'll leave it at that for now.
Brilliant preview.
Thank you.
To this is people should look out for what's the title
A Guide
of the book?
to Katinka.
A Guide to Katinka. Live reading from Claudio Tapia. We were talking about Amsterdam arrivals earlier,
Sure.
but you came here. You had a bit of a lost decade. You dropped.
In school, I was playing music, playing in bands, and I used to live in Texas, and got fed up with Houston and packed up a guitar, some books, and some clothes, and came to Amsterdam. That's how I ended up here. And so, yeah, there's a little gap in my resume there of about 10 years. Well, more like 7 years. But
Amsterdam will do that
so
to you, I guess.
I vanished, but I resurfaced.
Ta-da!
And here I am, I guess,
Yeah.
back to life.
Cool. And so for our viewers, if people want to see more of lit cinema or to buy a book, you should go to claudiotapia.com.
Yeah, my website, claudiotapia.com.
And you're also a tweeter. You tweet.
I tweet, I Facebook, so I can be found online.
At
And
Claudio.
so
Claudio.
check out the
Tapia.
website. You'll see the films, the whole series on there. It's 10 short films, and it's really fun to watch them. So, and any news about things coming up, I'll announce it on the site.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for
Claudio.
having me. Thanks so much.
Cool.
Enjoyed it.